The way that we look at duplication is really in terms of all the different channels and touch points that our consumers are responding to. So we take a look at all the different media channels, and the way that we try to manage for duplication across them is through two different ways. So the first way is looking at our planning tools. We have proprietary tools that allows us to match panel-based data with audience data. And that essentially tells us the media consumption behavior across all the different channels. And it allows us to sort of triangulate against the optimal reach and frequency curve and allocate the dollars appropriately to all the different channels. The inverse effect of that is essentially allows us to minimize duplication in a probabilistic way. So that's one way of managing audience duplication, but the other way is a little bit more scientific, and we essentially leverage platform-specific technology providers using deterministic data because they do have access to connected TV data. Many of times they match that against an identity graph with multiple device IDs, which then allows us to control the exposure of those ads to different digital devices. That's probably the best way that we can get to that number in terms of managing duplication. And it's probably the best way that we have using today's technologies.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you about the use of mobile data in the TV decisioning and world that we're working with now. What's the interaction, both in terms of planning, in terms of e-commerce, the QR code? What are the signals coming out of the phone that really are valuable, in your opinion?
Well, I think e-commerce is, really important activity that more and more technology providers are starting to build. QR codes is one of the ways to connect that e-commerce activity and bridge it against, your CTV viewing experience. We think that though, that the shopping mindset for CTV viewers will start to change, right? Right now, most CTV viewers are not necessarily ready to pull out their credit card while they're sitting on the couch watching CTV programming. However, we do know that there are personalized experiences being built with CTV. If you think about somebody watching a live sports program, you can actually now look at live stats for different teams and players. You're able to look at league standings. And if you're watching a movie or show, you're able to pause that experience and look up the actors, directors, and look up synopsis of that show. So that personalization of the CTV experience will essentially continue in e-commerce as well. I believe that eventually we'll get to a point, where we'll be able to allow for comparison shopping on CTV and give consumers the ability to transact within that single remote device rather than driving people to their mobile phones.
Now, clients want to be engaged. They want their brand message to be engaged, or whatever their KPI is, across multiple devices, and it seems like there's more and more all the time. What are their expectations? What can you provide, and how is what are the challenges in creating cross multiple device activations?
Well, I think, as consumers are using multiple devices, it's creating new opportunities for us to deliver ads in those different devices. And the issue there is that consumption time is also fragmenting. So as consumers start to use more and more devices, it's harder and harder to get their attention. And so, we also know that consumers are multitasking at the same time. So, their consumption time overall is going up, but, they're using two or more devices at one time. So I think the challenge that we have with advertisers is that, how do we get that attention back? How do we get users to engage with us? And in order to do that, it's really about understanding how users are testing those different channels. How do you create that relevance with them and personalize that experience so that they can engage with you emotionally? So we really spent a lot of time understanding, how users are testing all these different devices, what the experience is like, and how do we integrate our brands into those experiences.
Jeff, tell us, there's a lot going on in our space now around cookies, the Apple ID, big changes, um, big innovations around identity coming from a number of vendors. What's exciting for you, and what are some big developments or, you know, evolution, if you will, of digital media that you think, are most important or that you anticipate happening?
Yeah, I think right now there's been a lot of connection between, all the different data sets that would allow us to target on connected TV better. And that includes, rolling mobile data into identity graphs that really tells us a lot of information about a specific user. So, I think mobile is probably one of the best signal collection devices that we have today with, embedded sensors that essentially will tell you your geolocation, app usage data, your behavior, your interests, your passion points. And you line that up with some of the health activity monitors that you have. It's a vast amount of information that we can utilize to better understand, who our target audiences are. And that information can use to paint a better picture of who a person is. And that will allow us to really build more personalized and better experiences for that user. So, I think that, with all the challenges that we have today with, IDFA being removed, which is causing a lot of headaches, I don't necessarily think that this process of aggregating data and gaining a better understanding of who that user is will go away. We will kind of get around all the data privacy regulations, but it is important to continue to stitch data together to essentially put together that puzzle of who that person is and how do we really connect better with those audiences. So I think as time goes on, we'll have the ability to take offline data, take other disparate sources of data, connect them together, and really build a better experience across all of the advertising formats that are emerging now.